IT spend dropped off considerably in the downturn, but budgets have gradually recovered since then. To tell us if we're back to pre-crisis levels is Bashar Kilani, Territory Manager Middle East for IBM. Good morning to you, Bashar.
Good morning, Malcolm.
Nice to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
Let's get into it directly. Are companies spending yet at pre-2008 levels on ICT?
I think we're almost back there. Most of the sectors have recovered. Specifically, services and software have become a little bit more aggressive. Hardware, of course, is taking a little bit longer to recover, but in general, we're there.
When you said services and software, were you sort of, in a roundabout way, saying software as a service?
Not really. I was really saying services in general. Software as a service, cloud computing, these are all initiatives that are starting to pick up. Of course, there's a value proposition there. It is one of the drivers for growth, but we're still not there in terms of the volumes.
All of these issues, such as cloud computing, virtualization, so remote access to software, is that really helping people to save money?
I think it is. It's helping them save money, become more effective and efficient, but at the same time, it saves them having to invest in an IT infrastructure normally, or if they have one, to consolidate it and make it easier to manage.
What about by territory? Which are the areas who really have pulled themselves up?
Well, if you talk here in the region, I think definitely the GCC countries have been benefiting from a lot of spend.
I meant really within the GCC.
I think the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar are probably up there as leaders when it comes to incremental spend on IT.
You and I have both been in Doha over the last few days. What about Qatar itself? Are you seeing much of a sort of ramp up for the World Cup in mind? Because that's going to take an awful lot of ICT, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. The Qatari market is one of the fastest growing markets that we are having in the region. As part of our geo expansion, we will open an office in Qatar next month. It is one of our focus areas. Of course, we see a lot of demand for services. We see a lot of demand for additional infrastructure technology, but also the more advanced solutions around Smarter Planet, business analytics, and so on.
When you talk to people in Doha, are they talking about the World Cup, or are they sort of beginning to ramp up with this bid for the Olympic Games in mind as well?
I think the immediate challenge is, of course, the setup for the World Cup, and that affects the infrastructure. It affects the underlying business processes for almost every government organization and commercial business as well. That's definitely on people's mind.
Story out on Friday, Facebook confirming it's acquired about 750 patents from IBM as it prepares for litigation, including a lawsuit by Yahoo. And it wants to build up a war chest of patents towards this lawsuit. The patents can prove an essential part of a tech company's growth. What exactly have they brought from IBM?
I don't have all the details about that, but I agree with you. Patents are very important. We're doing a lot of research jointly with local research centers, especially in Saudi Arabia, around nanotechnology. And of course, a lot of it is around developing IP that is local to this market or belongs to this part of the world. It's important to drive business. It's important also to create capabilities, but in the future also to set the standards around these patents and how important they are for commercial aspects of the business.
Well, I don't know where these patents come from. IBM apparently has tens of thousands of active patents. Why would you buy patents or register them and not use them?
I think patents in general are important when it comes to commercial use of technology. It of course protects the right of the intellectual property that has been going into them. Definitely in regulated markets and all other markets around the world, it's becoming more and more important how and when you use these patents in order to drive growth and business. And if you own these patents, of course you have a great advantage there.
We've seen that with the battle with Apple and Samsung trying to keep the other out of certain markets based on fairly minor patents.
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, does IBM buy and sell these patents as an investment vehicle with the hope of making a profit on each one?
Well, definitely IBM invests a lot in research. We spend about $6.3 billion every year in research, and we have probably the most patents in the US. Every year we have more than 5,000 patents in different areas of the business. So we have a lot of focus on patents and research. And obviously, as you can see, it's been very important for the business. And I'm not sure it's really IBM is investing in it to sell and trade these patents, but the important thing is we use it for the technology that we develop.
On the Business Breakfast, we often bemoan the lack of serious IT R&D centres in this region. In many ways, the big players stand accused of injecting little serious knowledge back into the economies locally. Why is that? How do you think this situation can be improved?
I think this is a great opportunity for this part of the world, and research is extremely important. We have been working in this part of the world on really the latest kind of technology in order to enable skills and research capabilities in this part of the world. For example, in KAUST in Saudi Arabia today, we have the world's 14th largest computer in terms of capabilities for processing power. But also we are working with King Abdulaziz University for nanotechnology related research to tackle two very important things. One of them is water desalination and the other one is solar energy.
Have they got enough people on the ground in Saudi who are qualified?
You'd be very surprised. Yes, and I think Saudi researchers working alongside with IBMers have actually demonstrated great skill levels and capabilities. Today, the projects we're working on using nanotechnology have enabled them to produce something like 30,000 cubic meters of desalinated water to feed a city like Khafji of 100,000 people. It's quite an interesting project, and the importance here is that the IP will belong to the Saudi and IBM entities. The research is done predominantly by Saudi and IBM, Saudi students as well as IBM researchers. So it's a very good example of using technology to develop growth and local skills and IP.
Why Saudi, not the UAE?
Definitely similar projects with the UAE. If you remember, we've had Blue Gene. The first Blue Gene was installed in the UAE as part of the higher colleges of technology. So we're working with institutions around the region. We also have a project around nanotechnology in Egypt, and we have a big development center for IBM in Egypt.
You talked about, I think it was the 10th or 12th most powerful computer in the world is in Saudi Arabia? 14th.
Shaheen.
You have got one of the very, very biggest computers, the Watson supercomputer, Big Blue's Watson. And you've just signed an agreement with Citigroup to explore the use of Watson for big data exploration. The company says that it hopes that the big compute power of Watson is going to help it advance its customer interaction and risk assessments, whilst improving the experience and profitability of each customer. What are they talking about in simple terms? How can they improve things like customer interactions and risk assessments by using your big computer?
Well, the big computer Watson was announced last year. It's basically a computer that understands and processes natural language and is able to consult vast volumes of structured and unstructured data in order to produce answers. This was demonstrated in the Jeopardy game, and it won against the two of the most important players in this space. It
won $1 million, didn't it? Did it actually get the cash? Or was it a trial run?
I think Watson did well. It's the first time we have this kind of complex computing capability, and we're using it in different aspects. As you mentioned, we're using it in the financial markets. This enables banks to understand the latest regulatory announcements, news, but also feeds from social media in order to analyze what's happening in the market. Watson is also helping us fight cancer.
I know, I've seen oncologists have just used it to help diagnose and treat cancer as well. That's a major step forward. Why do you need such a big computer to do that? Why can't smaller ones do that?
Well, I think the ability to very quickly go through all this huge volume of data and the ability to give you evidence-based, statistically ranked answers in a very short time is very important, and that's probably a key value for the capabilities of Watson in the medical space as well, specifically in cancer.
We've got 30 seconds left, Bashar. Where are you looking for in the region for your biggest growth over the next year?
I think the GCC is part of IBM's emerging market strategy. It's one of the fastest growing. It has been one of the fastest growing in the last year, and we hope it will continue to do so. We've been investing in the GCC, opening new offices. 2 years ago, we opened an office in Saudi Arabia, then in Abu Dhabi, and next month, as I mentioned, we will have an opening for our next office as part of the geo expansion in Doha.
Bashar Kilani, the Territory Manager, Middle East, Gulf Countries and Levant for IBM, thank you very much.
Thank you.